You know those little shortcuts we use in English all the time, like saying I'm instead of I am? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into how these simple little tweaks are actually a super powerful part of our language.
Okay, so let's jump right in with this really cool idea from our source material, that the apostrophe is basically a tiny time machine. I know, it sounds a little wild, right? But it's actually the perfect way to think about what this little mark really does.
I mean, removing history? Compressing speech? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But this is exactly what's happening every single time we talk to a friend or write a quick email. It's what makes our words sound, well, human.
And the answer to this whole mystery is, of course, the contraction. At its heart, it's just a way of mashing two words together to create a shorter, more efficient version. And these aren't just lazy habits, They're fundamental linguistic shortcuts that make our language work better.
And you can really see the difference right here. That stuff on the left, it just sounds robotic, like a computer reading a script. But the column on the right, that's how people actually talk. That's the real, connected, fast-paced sound of a conversation.
So the whole trick is knowing when and where to use these things. As you can see, they're perfect for everyday chats, for telling a story, or for writing dialogue that sounds real. But yeah, if you're writing a super formal legal document or a big academic paper, you'll probably want to stick with the full two-word versions.
All right, so let's get into the mechanics. What is the apostrophe actually doing in a contraction? Because it's not just there for decoration, it has a very real, very important job.
It all breaks down into a super simple three-step process. First, two words decide to get together. Then, in the process, a few letters get kicked out. And finally, the apostrophe slides right in to mark the spot where those letters used to be. It's like a little gravestone for a piece of the word's history.
Now here's something really cool. Most contractions aren't random. They actually fall into these predictable little families. You've got your not family, your will family, and a few others. And recognizing this pattern makes them way easier to get the hang of.
And this is the real game changer. Once you start to see these patterns, you don't have to memorize every single contraction out there. You just learn the rule for the family, and you're good to go. It's all about seeing the system behind it all.
But hey, with any shortcut, there's always a few traps, right? So let's talk about the big one, the major confusion zone where pretty much everyone, even native speakers, messes up from time to time.
First up, the classic mix-up of your versus your. The rule here is dead simple, though. The apostrophe is always your clue. If you see it, it means you are. No apostrophe, then we're talking about something that belongs to you, as in your car.
And guess what? The exact same logic applies to its and its. The apostrophe in its is basically shouting, hey, I'm short for it is or it has. The one without it, its, is just for possession.
And now for the final boss, the trio of there, and there. But again, the apostrophe is your best friend here. There has the apostrophe, so it always means they are. There is about ownership, and there points to a place. The apostrophe is the key that unlocks it all.
So here's a foolproof test you can use every single time you're not sure. When you see a contraction, just try to say the sentence with the two original words instead. If you are happy makes sense, then you're happy is correct. If it sounds weird, you've used the wrong one. Simple as that.
So why does any of this really matter? Why are we spending all this time on a tiny little punctuation mark? Well, because contractions are so much more than just grammar. They are absolutely fundamental to the sound, the feel, and the entire rhythm of the English language.
When we're reading, contractions help the words just flow off the page, making it easier and faster to understand. And when it comes to dialogue in a book or a movie, they're a massive clue about a character's tone and personality.
Honestly, they're often the main difference between dialogue that feels real and alive and dialogue that sounds like it was written by a robot. Just try it. Read a conversation out loud without using any contractions. It just feels wrong.
And this all leads to a really powerful final thought. Contractions are the perfect example of how our language is always evolving, always looking for a quicker, more efficient way to get a point across. By actually taking letters away, we make the meaning stronger and the connection faster.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. If contractions are just one step on this journey towards making our language faster, what comes next? What other parts of how we speak and write might we end up shedding in the future to communicate even more efficiently?